Good morning, participants. Welcome back to final day of our ATAL FDP on digital media marketing and management. It's been a fantastic journey of learning the basics as well as advanced features of digital media marketing that are running across the world. And we have learned a lot about digital media marketing, how it happens, the industry insights, influencer marketing, remarketing, inbound, outbound marketing, and lot more in these 4 days of our ATAL FDP. The final day, I would not call it as last day because the learning continues. So I would call it as the final day of our ATAL FDP, wherein the last day is fully focused on the experiential learning. Until and unless one does not experience, the one cannot fully justify it. So the day is fully focused on experiential learning, wherein our first session will begin with National Education Policy 2020. Because the understanding of this policy is very essential for us being an academician. Then we would have a session on the power of breathing, yoga and meditation that plays a very vital role in an individual's life, and especially in these pandemic times. Then we would be talking about spiritual awareness and personal effectiveness. That is also one of the major reasons that we have conducted that session in this particular FDP, and it has been a mandate as well from ATAL Academy. And then will be the last one, our valedictory ceremony and the assessment test. So to begin this day with the experiential learning session, I would invite 3 of my colleagues, Dr. Tarika Nandedkar, Dr. Sunita Jatav, and Dr. Pallavi Mukherjee. If I give you a brief about their profiles, Dr. Tarika Nandedkar is expert in operations and she holds more than 12 years of experience. Dr. Sunita Jatav is an expert in her research methodology as a subject and marketing as well, and she holds an experience of more than 11 years. Dr. Pallavi Mukherjee is an expert in economics and she holds an experience of more than 10 years. And all of these 3 faculties are associate professor with Institute of Business Management and Research, IBMR, IPS Academy. So I welcome you all to this session of ATAL FDP, and over to you all 3 faculties.
Thank you, ma'am, for welcoming us.
Thank you so much. Pallavi ma'am, please start the session.
Thank you so much, Kiran ma'am, for such a wonderful introduction and of course for inviting us today. Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Pallavi Mukherjee along with my colleagues, Dr. Tarika Nandedkar and Dr. Sunita Jatav, will present on the topic National Education Policy 2020. I want to thank Dr. Vivek Singh Kushwaha sir for giving us this wonderful opportunity, and Dr. Sachin Mittal sir for guiding us throughout. And of course, Dr. Kiran Gehani and Dr. Karicharan Modak sir for inviting us today. The presentation is divided into 3 basic categories: the introduction, the policies on school education and higher education. I have tried to bring together an introduction to strike a balance between the demand and supply of education system. The introduction covers a background of the Indian education system, need of changes in the system to cater to the 21st century learning goals, NEP 2020, the basis and salient features, along with the role of teachers in adopting innovative technique, and finally link between the NEP and the SDG 4. I will begin the presentation with a video on the purpose of education. Kiran ma'am, please let me know whether the video is visible.
Yes ma'am, it's perfectly audible and visible as well.
एक्सपेरिमेंट जरूर करना हूं और उससे सीखता भी हूं। मेरे विचार एप्रीहेंशन से नहीं, ऑब्जर्वेशन से बनते। मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि एक सामान्य जिंदगी जीने के लिए इंसान को रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान के अलावा अगर किसी चीज की सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत होती है तो वो है शिक्षा, एजुकेशन। आपके पास यदि धन है तो आप उसे गोल्ड में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं। धन हो या सोना, दोनों के कम होने का या खो जाने का डर हो सकता है, पर यही धन को अगर हम नॉलेज में कन्वर्ट करते हैं तो वो कभी कम नहीं होगा और ना ही उसकी चोरी हो सकती। शिक्षा का महत्व मैंने बचपन से ही देखा है। मेरे माता पिता का मानना था कि ज्ञान वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है जिसका डिविडेंड यानी मुनाफा जीवन के अंत तक मिलता रहता है। कि एक राजा अपनी शक्ति के बल पर केवल वहीं तक पूजा जाता है जहां तक उसका साम्राज्य फैला होता है। वो केवल अपनी प्रजा का प्रिय होता है, पर अपने ज्ञान की कीर्ति फैलाने वाले अल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन, विलियम शेक्सपियर, रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर सिर्फ अपनी जन्मभूमि में ही नहीं बल्कि पूरे विश्व में पूजे जाते हैं। संपूर्ण मानव जाति के लिए वो प्रेरणा स्रोत बनते हैं, बिना इस बात की चिंता किए कि एंड रिजल्ट क्या होगा। साल के अंत में जब हम परीक्षा देने बैठेंगे तो कुछ याद रहेगा या नहीं, अच्छे नंबर के पास आएंगे या नहीं, वो हमारे पास नंबर आ पाएंगे या नहीं। प्यारे दोस्तों, आपकी शिक्षा के ये दिन आपको कुछ समय के लिए गंभीर जरूर रख सकते हैं, पर इस गंभीरता का फल आपको आपके आने वाले दिनों में उम्मीद से कहीं ज्यादा मिलेगा। बिकॉज आई सिंसियरली फील दैट व्हेन यू विल चेस नॉलेज, नंबर्स विल ऑलवेज फॉलो। दो चीजें इंसान यदि अपने जीवन में एक बार सीख लेता है तो वो उसे कभी भूलता नहीं। एक है तैरना, स्विमिंग, दूसरा है साइकिल चलाना। सालों बाद भी अगर आप इन क्रियाओं को करेंगे तो कभी भी इस बात की चिंता नहीं होगी कि आपको स्विमिंग करना या साइकिल चलाना याद है कि नहीं। मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि वेपन्स, मनी किसी को पावरफुल नहीं बनाते, या अगर बनाते भी हैं तो कुछ समय के लिए ही बना पाते हैं। दौलत आज होगी कल नहीं। शस्त्र का ज्ञान तभी तक काम आएगा जब तक वो शस्त्र चल सकता है। वंस इट इज यूज्ड इट बिकम्स एब्सोल्यूट। पर शास्त्र का ज्ञान कभी नहीं रुकता। नॉलेज कैन नेवर बी ऑब्सोलीट। शास्त्र ज्ञान शस्त्र ज्ञान से ज्यादा असरदार, प्रभावशाली और शक्तिशाली होता है। सीखते रहिए। ज्ञान का धनी व्यक्ति हमेशा ही सम्मान और आदर योग्य होता है, क्योंकि ज्ञान वो कवच है, वो शील्ड है जो आपके जीवन में आने वाली कठिनाइयों से आपकी रक्षा करेगा। फिर किसी भी शस्त्र की आपको आवश्यकता नहीं होगी।
Learning is an endless process. Knowledge has no barriers. It works like a shield to protect us from adversity. The power of knowledge is supreme, which can neither be obsolete or taken away. Mr. Bachchan also threw light on a very famous shlok. Vidvatvam cha nripatvam cha naivatulyam kadachana. Swadeshe pujyate raja, vidwan sarvatra pujyate.
मैं मोबाइल फोन लेके गई थी, क्यों, क्या करना है बोल। अभी बोल, मैं अभी भी चालू है इन लोगों का डिस्कशन।
Participants, I request you to please keep yourself on mute mode. Please continue, ma'am.
I would like to again repeat the Sanskrit shlok. Vidvatvam cha nripatvam cha naivatulyam kadachana. Swadeshe pujyate raja, vidwan sarvatra pujyate. This means that there is no comparison between a king and a learned scholar, as the king is only worshipped in his own kingdom, whereas a learned scholar is worshipped everywhere. Universal high-quality education is the best way forward for developing and maximizing our country's rich talents and resources for the good of the individual, the society, the country, and the world. India will have the highest population of young people in the world over the next decade, and our ability to provide high-quality educational opportunities to them will determine the future of our country. The world is undergoing rapid changes in the knowledge landscape. With various dramatic scientific and technological advances such as the rise of big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, many unskilled jobs worldwide may be taken away by machines, while the need of a skilled workforce, particularly involving mathematics, computer science, data science, in conjunction with multidisciplinary abilities across the sciences, social sciences, and humanities will be increasingly in demand. There will be a growing demand for humanities and arts as India moves towards becoming a developed country, as well as among the 3 large economies of the world. Also, the basis of our education system needs focused orientation on traditions and Indian value system and culture. The curriculum must include basic arts, crafts, humanities, games, sports, fitness, languages, literatures, culture, and values. In addition to science and mathematics, to develop all aspects of capabilities of learners and make education more useful and fulfilling for the learner. Education should thus move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. Pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and of course, enjoyable. Let us see a small video on trying to adopt innovative pedagogy to enhance the teaching and learning experience. Ma'am, is it audible?
Ma'am, not visible yet.
Not visible?
Kiran ma'am, it's visible, I think.
Okay.
Yes, it's visible and audible as well.
Thank you. Mantras for our teachers: start small, borrow ideas if you like from others. To be innovative, you don't have to be a genius. You just have to try new things. The gap between the current state of learning outcomes and what is required must be bridged through undertaking major reforms that bring the highest quality, equity, and integrity into the system from early childhood to higher education. Education must build character, enable learners to be ethical, rational, compassionate, and caring, while at the same time prepare them for gainful, fulfilling employment. Let us watch a video on grit, which is a combination of character traits.
Grit is a combination of character traits such as self-control, passion, and perseverance. Many modern psychologists, educators, and parents now believe it's more important for success in life than good grades at school or an outstanding intelligence. At a Stanford experiment in the late 1960s, psychologist Walter Mischel put kids in front of one tasty marshmallow. The 4-year-old children were then promised another one if they had enough willpower not to eat the one in front of them. Then they were left alone for 15 minutes. Some kids hid below the table. Those who were able to delay their gratification got a second treat and many years later became more accomplished adults. They were more healthy, had higher test scores at school, and were socially more competent. Professor Mischel and the marshmallow test became famous. Angela Duckworth, a popular psychologist, later invented the so-called grit scale, a questionnaire to predict success. One question: do I finish what I began? She then interviewed gifted businesswomen, accomplished scientists, and other successful people. She found out that self-control, passion, and perseverance were better indicators for success than a high IQ score or fine genes. Let's examine the reasons behind this. Passion leads us to pursue careers that we love. Once we love something, we work hard to succeed and as a result can reach excellence. Self-control allows us to wait even if something looks very attractive. This is important because one day a better option might present itself. And perseverance means we keep fighting despite obstacles. It's essential to complete projects that then grow our self-confidence through social recognition. The most gifted minds can't even start if they lack passion and inspiration.
Enhancing the students' multidisciplinary capacities will help them to follow their passion. And finally, that will increase their chance of success in life. However, character building involves perseverance, patience, self-control, etc., which again enables the students to face real-life problems and emerge victorious. Many policies we had so far had fundamental objectives which made every policy unique. Let us discuss a little bit about the background of the Indian education system. Education in the time of British rule. The education system was first developed in the 3 presidencies, Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. By linking entrance and advancement in government service to academic education, colonial rule contributed to the legacy of an education system geared to preserving the position and prerogatives of the more privileged. Let's talk about education vision of independent India. Following independence, school curricula was imbued with twin themes, the inclusiveness and the national pride. The most notable feature is the entrenchment of pluralist, secularist perspective in the minds of the Indian people. Subsidized quality education through institutions such as the IITs and the IIMs formed a major contribution to the independent vision of a self-reliant and modern Indian state. The Kothari Commission, 1964, was set up to formulate a coherent education policy for India. According to the Commission, education was intended to increase productivity, develop social, national unity, consolidate democracy, modernize the country, and develop social, moral, and of course, the spiritual values. The Commission also emphasized the need to eradicate illiteracy and provide adult education. Then came the National Policy on Education. In 1986, this policy was announced, which was intended to prepare India for the 21st century. The prioritization of science, mathematics was also very effective here. However, change was required to increase the financial and organizational support for the education system to tackle problems of access and quality. Now, the National Education Policy of July 2020. There were also some other important initiatives. I would just briefly mention about them, like the Operation Blackboard, restructuring and reorganization of teachers' education, minimum levels of learning, National Program for Nutritional Support to Primary Education, District Primary Education Program, Movement to Education All, Fundamental Right, etc. Now, problems of education system in our country. Amongst several problems of the education system in India, the most critical ones include the lack of access, equity, affordability. Now, penetration of education still happens to be a challenge amongst all the Indian states, along with difference in quality of education, especially for the less advantaged groups. The NEP 2020, India's National Education Policy 2020, makes a paradigm shift in conceptualizing education as a means to equip the students with skills suited for the 21st century. The policy has potential to align the goals of affordability, academic degrees, job readiness, and national admissions with individual gains. The policy provides to all students a quality education, with particular focus on historically marginalized, disadvantaged, and of course, the underrepresented groups. The NEP 2020, the first education policy of the 21st century, and aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our country. This policy proposes the revision and revamping of all aspects of the education structure, including its regulation and governance, to create a new system that is aligned with aspirational goals of the 21st century. Education includes the SDG 4 while building upon India's tradition and value system. The 21st century learning process and learner skill set has gone through a very, a detailed structural change, where we have transformed from conventional blackboard learning to blended learning, and finally to learning virtually online. Also, the meaning of knowledge and the meaning of knowing has shifted from just being able to remember, repeat, to be able to locate, evaluate, and effectively use information. The next video enumerates about such aspects reflecting upon the 21st century learning.
The adoption of technology in everyday life has changed the way we do many of our daily tasks. 21st century learners are required to have a very different skill set compared to learners of the past. In traditional learning, students learn not to ask too many questions. Instead, they are required to listen and repeat the expected answers. Currently, most schools still focus on teaching a set of basic skills that do not serve the needs of modern society. Although students must acquire knowledge, learning content is not enough. Today, the meaning of knowing has shifted from being able to remember and repeat information to being able to locate, evaluate, and use information effectively. Today's students need to be fully prepared for successful learning in the information age. They are heading into a busy and competitive world full of uncertainties, joining a workforce that is more mobile and better qualified than ever before, and building careers that span multiple jobs, positions, and skill sets, some of which haven't been invented yet. In response, schools need to make changes in their approach to adequately prepare students with the required 21st century skills. Technology is transforming the ways that people work and relate to each other, which means that learning in schools needs to change to adequately prepare students. Education should be much more about ways of thinking, which involve creative and critical approaches to problem solving and decision making, whilst also emphasizing learning. Education should also introduce ways of working through communicating and collaborating, as well as refining the necessary tools for working. These tools include information literacy and ICT literacy. And last but not least, students need to develop the skills for living in a multifaceted world as an active and engaged citizen with personal and social responsibility. A 21st century learner is able to apply their skills to numerous situations and experiences, gain new competencies, build relationships, and assume new roles. They are capable of constantly adapting, learning, and growing in a fast-changing world influenced by technology. To meet the challenge of preparing students for a life of constant change and constant learning, teachers need to be innovative in their approach. The skills needed for the 21st century must be central to what students are doing in schools. Inquiry-based learning enables teachers to address these skills in a meaningful way with its student-centered approach and real-world applications. Inquiry-based learning prepares students for an uncertain future by providing an education that supports them to actively engage in their learning, to think critically, to communicate in various ways, to collaborate, and to process information.
So as you can see from the video that the students will have to adapt with a busy and competitive world full of uncertainties. Inquiry-based learning will prepare the students for the 21st century learning. The National Education Policy 2020. This policy replaced the 34-year-old National Policy on Education in 1986, the NPE. It aims to bring transformational reforms in schools and higher education and thus shape India into a global knowledge superpower. Built on the foundational pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability, this policy is aligned to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It aims to transform India into a vibrant knowledge society and global knowledge superpower by making both schools and college education more holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary, suited to the 21st century needs, and aimed at bringing out the unique capabilities of each student. As you can see, the basis of NEP, it is not only to develop the cognitive capacities, like the foundational capacity or a higher degree, a higher order cognitive capacity, like literacy, numeracy, and of higher degree, like critical thinking and problem solving, but also social, ethical, and emotional capacities. Let us just briefly discuss about the salient features of NEP 2020. All higher education institutions will be governed by a single regulator. Common norms for higher education institutions. MPhil discontinued. The board exams will be based on knowledge application, home language, mother tongue, or regional language till class 5. That would be the medium of instruction maybe. Common entrance exams, higher education institutions. Vocational education, multilingualism, vocational studies, experiential learning, and of course the change in school education system, the 5+3+3+4 structure. All these points will be elaborately covered by my colleagues after the introduction. The last part of the presentation, NEP and the SDG 4. The National Education Policy and the Sustainable Development Goal 4 share the goals of universal quality education and lifelong learning. By 2030, ensure that all girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education, leading to relevant and goal for effective learning outcomes. By 2030, ensure that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development care and pre-primary education so that they are ready for primary education. By 2030, ensure equal access to all women and men to affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including the university. By 2030, substantial increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. By 2030, eliminate gender disparities in education and ensure equal access to all levels of education and vocational training for the vulnerable, including people with disabilities, indigenous people, and children with vulnerable situations. By 2030, ensure that all youth and substantial portion of the adults, both men and women, achieve literacy and numeracy. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and culture's contribution to sustainable development. Build and upgrade education facilities that are child, disability, and gender sensitive, and provide safe, non-violent, inclusive, and effective learning environments for all. Substantially expand globally the number of scholarships available to developing countries for enrollment in higher education, including vocational training and information and communication technology, technical engineering and scientific programs in developed countries and also in other developing countries. By 2030, substantially increase the supply of qualified teachers, including through international cooperation for teachers training in developing countries. Finally, the target of NEP 2020 is by 2025, at least 50% of the learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education, for which a clear action plan with targets and timelines will be developed. This is all in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goal 4.4 and will help to realize the full potential of India's demographic dividend. Before finishing the introductory part of our presentation, I would like to sum up a few key points, important points for NEP 2020 focuses that includes equitable education, common norms, experiential learning, eliminating gender disparities, etc. But amongst all, it is high time that we as teachers should improve our teaching pedagogy in order to enhance the learning experience of students and also to help them get armed with knowledge to face the global world. I would like to end the introduction by showing a small video of gratitude demonstrating a bond between the teachers and learners.
Thank my friend. She taught me not to judge people based on the past.
I think I'd like to thank my yoga teacher for dealing with my mental and physical inflexibilities.
I would like to thank my maths teacher. She made me look at the subject that I hated in a completely different perspective.
I'd like to thank my grandmother. She's been telling me very great stories about saints. I would like to thank the whole universe because that's always the best teacher.
My Tamil teacher, my dance teacher,
my physics teacher,
my grandfather, teacher inside myself.
My teacher always, and who's so persistent and so prominent in my life is my mother.
The first teacher ever in my life was my mom.
That would be my mother actually. She's been one teacher who stayed with me and is still with me. I mean, she's 96 years old.
My grandfather was extremely ill and his leg got amputated. So he became almost like a child. And my mother has taken care of him like a baby. He was her father-in-law. And not many daughter-in-laws have the comfort or that relationship with their father-in-law. But she did everything for him. And when I mean everything, right from feeding him to everything that you can think of. And during his last few days, he called my mom and he folded his hands and he said that, you're my mother. You've taken care of me and you're my mother, and thank you for that.
My guru, Pandit Shankar Ghosh, has been an incredible inspiration for me. He would tell little stories in tabla language. Little boy who goes every day to school. The cake man says, go home, it's a holiday. And he's so excited, he dances his way back home. So he goes, Mommy, it's a holiday. And then he runs out to play and mommy makes him study and he runs out again.
One teacher whom I particularly remember with great fondness is Professor Jayant Prabhu. What I loved about him is that he taught the subject with such passion and with such discipline that even if you didn't know anything about chemistry, you would fall in love with it. And to be able to do that requires a great mastery. And I learned that when you want to teach something and you want to be a great teacher, you should have great mastery of your subject.
I think the life is so big and it's not possible you can say only one person had taught you everything. I think every day you learn something.
A teacher can be either a source of information or a source of transformation. This is something I realized through a novice teacher when I was in high school. Every teacher was a game, a new one especially was for sure a big game. This is her first class in the school. She's in our class, which is the worst place to start off. So when she came and stood next to my bench, I was generous to open up my fountain pen and give out the entire quantity of ink that I had onto her white starched sari, which just soaked it up. And she didn't realize she walked around it with that patch behind her and everybody was giggling. Later on, after the lunch hour, I was asked to come to the staff room. Staff room was not a rare place for me to go. I knew somebody has squealed about this. Then when I went there, she asked for my pen. I gave my pen. She took an ink bottle, filled up my pen, closed it and gave it to me. I said, "Thank you, ma'am," and came back. But this built such a strong bond with her that she became my favorite teacher. And I realized what the world throws at you is not your choice, but what you make out of it is entirely yours. I think it stayed with me.
As we saw in the video, that so many people are thanking their teachers. It's extremely true, it's absolutely, entirely true that a teacher can be a source of information or a source of transformation. We teachers always had, have, and will have a big role to play in a student's life. Thank you, everyone. I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Tarika Nandetkar, to elaborate about NEP 2020 school education policies and changes. Over to you, Tarika ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi. Just a second. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pallavi, and good morning to one and all present over here. And it's my pleasure to be a part of this presentation. I'm sharing my screen. Kiran ma'am, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. As Dr. Pallavi has given a brief introduction about national education policy with a beautiful presentation and with the help of beautiful videos, I'm going to share some key highlights of NEP, especially with respect to school education. As it's well-known fact that the foundation of strong nation lies in well-structured, creative, and qualitative school education. And so, the national education policy, sorry, I think my PPT has some.
No, Tarika ma'am, it's visible.
Ma'am, you can stop share and share it again. That would serve the purpose.
Okay, ma'am.
Visible and clear, ma'am.
Just a second, ma'am. Please give me a 2 minutes.
No issues, ma'am. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
I think slideshow is there.
I think it will happen in a minute, ma'am.
Okay. So now I think.
Done, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for interruption. As I was saying that Pallavi ma'am has given a beautiful introduction about national education policy, and so I'm going to cover school education. We all know that the foundation of strong nation lies in a well-structured, creative, and qualitative school education. And so, looking at the vast importance of school education in nation building, the government of India in NEP 2020 introduced some major reforms in this sector. The objective of this step, the objective of NEP is to bring in transformational reforms in educational system. It envisions to develop India into a global knowledge superpower. Now let's have a look at its key points. New policy aims for universalization of education from preschool to secondary level with 100% gross enrollment ratio by 2030. It's a target of National Education Policy. NEP 2020 aims to bring 2 crore out of school children back into the mainstream. NEP established separate government bodies to carry out running of public schools regulation and policy making, states to set up a state school standard authorities which will ensure the quality of education, especially in school educations. NEP is mainly based on 3 pillars of research, innovation, and quality in education. At the heart of NEP is to develop expertise of students in one or more than one area. Along with academic development, NEP strives to foster creativity, scientific temper, that is all-round development of student. Now let's have a look on the key highlights of NEP. This is a pictorial representation of NEP, and we'll discuss one by one these all key highlights of NEP. 3 cheers, 3 years, 3 cheers. According to new system, students will start their educational journey at the age of 3. They will taking admissions in preschool at the age of 3. There is a restructuring of educational policy. The new system will be of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. The new system will cover 4 stages: foundational stage, preparatory stage, middle stage, and secondary stage. The basic idea behind this categorization is to make strong base of learning with focus on developing cognitive, affective, and psychometric skills and early literacy and numeracy among students. No to rote learning. One of the very important differentiation of NEP is to say goodbye to learn by heart. That we can say or we know all as a ratta marna. NEP suggests discover based learning, that is think and find out, exploration of new concepts. It's based on discussion based learning in education, which suggests exchange of ideas, thoughts between the teachers and students. Learning by doing is also giving weightage in it to prepare the students with modern time challenges. This is learning by doing. Students can learn by experiential learning with the help of experiential learning. Mother tongue matters, as it's always easy to grasp concepts in our own language, especially for a child. The language which he speaks is better to understand, and so up to the 5th grade, NEP suggests mother tongue as a medium of study. As a research, it's very clear. Many of the researchers show that children pick up languages extremely quickly between the age of 2 to 8. And therefore, NEP suggests 3-language formula. The multilingualism has a great cognitive benefit to young students. The extensive use of technology can be made to use multi-language. This will prompt the multilingualism and broaden students' horizon understanding. Sanskrit will be an important option throughout the schooling period for the students. Simplified curriculum, engaging pedagogy, making learning interesting. To cut short the curriculum is and burden of school bags also from the from children is a demand of many years. NEP suggests seem to minimize, to cut short the burden of students and curriculum as well. Load of textbooks and also it encourage learning more creative, collaborative, and explorative with deeper knowledge. Adoption of experiential learning is proposed. NEP suggests to provide weightage to curriculum gradually in such a manner that it should not burden students. This is an experiential learning video. A student is making fun, doing something, and try to learn the things. From the formula of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, 4 years include multidisciplinary studies to become future ready. It emphasizes on building a strong academic base along with greater depth, greater critical thinking, greater attention to life, aspirations, and greater flexibility. Flexibility to students in choosing subject at secondary level. Students can design their own study path without having to confine the rigidity of silos like arts, humanities, science, etc. There will be no separation like physical education, extracurricular activities, curricular activities, arts, crafts, science, etc. NEP it can be incorporated throughout the school education. The all things, the curricular activities, extracurricular activities, according to NEP, can be incorporated throughout their school education. Now, valuing diversity. As India has its own very rich culture, many cultures, religion, languages, and races exist peacefully in India. We all are here with a proud India. As in, students will be introduced to our nation's diversity at very young age so that they learn to respect it and become better citizens. The languages of India program under Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat in a middle grades will introduce and familiarize students with all major languages of our nation. Students will learn about the unity of most of the Indian languages, starting of their common phonetics, scientific abilities, arrangement of alphabets, scripts, common grammatical structures, and sources of origin. In valued in the language of India program, under the language of India program, students also learn in which geographical area, which type of language we are speaking as an Indian. So, as with these three formula, uh, and for incorporating this three formula language, there will be two languages from Indian languages, and one will be or can be a foreign language, and the students have the option to learn this foreign language in a secondary schooling stage. Students can take up any foreign language like Korean, Chinese, French, German, Spanish, Russian, any of them. They can choose with their interest. Developing a sense of pride for our country. As India has its own very rich culture, and as an Indian, we all have very big pride of this. And we want to convey, we want that our next generation should also have this pride, acquaint with this pride of Indian culture and heritage. Students would learn about great Indian personalities belonging to various spheres like math, science, medicine, philosophy, arts. A great step to make students aware of the greatness of their own nation. Focus on local culture, flavor traditions, arts, forms, languages of the places in education. Students would be educated about local heroes and personalities, would be given a chance to interact and learn from them. Teachers for local community would be given representation in school teaching. Vocational training, truly practical learning. As a part of integrated learning principle, students will take vocational training in the secondary schooling stage. Students can learn carpentry, metalwork, pottery, electrical work, gardening, farming, etc. Local experts would be hired for imparting training of these all vocational courses. Student can also take up internship with them. A practical based curriculum is in the grade 6 to 8 is suggested, at least for the 10 days bagless period decided by NCERT, where they intern with local vocational experts as I already said carpenters, metalwork, potter, artist, etc. And in grade 6 to 12, this training can be included with online mode, quizzes, sports, crafts. Students can visit to historical places, meeting with artists, take internships with them, and so have a truly practical knowledge. Developing well-rounded individuals. A big vision of NEP, that is the all-round development of students, which should be also an ultimate goal of any educational system. This goal can be achieved by developing leadership skills, communication skills, teamwork, problem solving techniques, emotional intelligence, building abilities, learning, remembering, reasoning, and paying attention. Oh, sorry. I think PPT has stopped.
Yes, ma'am.
Anna? Sorry. Just a second. क्या हो रहा है यार? Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, and bearing with this inconvenience. Sorry. I'm talking about the big vision of NEP, that is all-round development of students, and which should be an ultimate goal of any educational system, and it can be achieved by developing uh, skills within the students by inculcating all these skills into students and making them aware, able to take right choices will bring worth to education system also. It's very much important to teach students to take right choices in their life. Focus on technology and digital work. Digitalization, automations, artificial intelligence, robotics are the order of the day. Hence, technology education is given a huge importance in the new policy. Machine learning, computational mathematics, artificial intelligence, coding, design thinking, computer science, data science, smart apps, digital libraries to be an integral part of education. Teachers will also be given technology training. Education for all. There is an education for all. There is an innate latent in every child, which must be discovered, nurtured, fostered, and developed. So there are special provisions, care, and facilities for underprivileged children, physically and mentally challenged children, children away from physical schools, girl child, and also for the transgender students. Exceptionally talented students will be identified and nurtured to achieve greater success. There will be accelerated mode of learning for them. They can be utilized in peer tutoring. B.Ed programs may allow specialization in the education of genius special child students and teachers to make tasks easier for students and teachers as well. These B.Ed programs can be incorporated into our education system. This is a beautiful video. Now let us have a look on this, showing the importance of education for all. Ma'am, it's visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's not audible, ma'am.
Tarik ma'am, the video is not playing.
Okay, just a second, ma'am. I think it is. Okay, now I think it is.
Not yet, ma'am.
The link must have opened in a different window.
Okay,
Tarik ma'am, try stop sharing the screen share, this one, and directly go to the YouTube link in the new window.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Just a minute. I can show this one also here. YouTube link I'm again pasting. Just a minute, ma'am. I think there is a network issue from my side.
You want me to play it for you? Share the
Yeah,
link.
if you can, please, ma'am.
Ma'am, in the chat box, just share the link. I'll just play it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, just a second. I think there is some issue with my laptop also. I'm not able to even read. मैं बाहर ही हो गई यार.
No, Tarika ma'am, you are there.
मैं बाहर नहीं हूँ. Okay, I thought कि I
Okay,
am
ma'am.
out
We
of the
can skip the video and see it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay,
No
ma'am.
issues. If I can, I share my PPT again, and I skip that video, and at the end of, if possible, I will again. In a chat box, I'm pasting the link. If Pallavi ma'am can.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do the needful. You just share it in the chat box, the link.
Okay.
And later, after you finish the PPT, I can just play it for you.
Okay. Why it's not working? My PPT
Tarika,
is
ma'am?
also not moving.
Tarika ma'am, continue with the PPT. I'll figure out the link.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, there are some technical issues, network issues there also. I think you can bear with that. You apologize me for that inconvenience. Healthy student, happy student. Caring for all round health of students, that is physical, mental, and emotional. Along with the existing midday meal program, a staple breakfast program will also be undertaken. Counselor mentors will be employed to take care of mental and emotional health of students. This is a small clip for happy students, healthy students. The motive of our education system should be the healthy and happy students. The future of India should be happy. Today's big fear of education system is exam. According to the new NEP, no more exam jitters. Students will be tested for their conceptual understanding rather than rote learning. Aim of assessment should be to check the overall knowledge of students. It should be the analysis of critical thinking and conceptual clarity rather than rote learning. All students will take school examinations in grade 3, 5 and 8, which will test achievements of basic learning outcomes and application of knowledge in real life situations. Easier board exams in class 10th and 12th, testing core capabilities, competencies rather than month of coaching or memorizations. The report card seeks to include, along with teacher assessment, self-assessment, as well as peer assessment also. The redesigned school report card will include progress of child in project-based and inquiry-based learning, quizzes, role play, etc. Every subject will have equal value, respect, and chances. Teachers are also very big and important stakeholders of our education system, and so the quality of teachers' education, their recruitment, service conditions are also very much important. And so NEP provide importance and respect to all teachers for their valuable contribution in enrichment of education, and so as to child a future of nation. From NEP discourages rote learning, and so it should not be the criteria of university admissions also as per the NEP 2020. Focus should be on conceptual understanding, adaptability, innovativeness, and ability to learn. National Testing Agency will work to offer a high quality common aptitude test for all streams of subjects at least twice in a year, which will give equal and better opportunities to all subjects for university examination. Now, that's it with all the points of related with the school education covered by NEP 2020. Let's summarize all these points once again. The new policy is all about making learning engaging and interesting. It comes with a promise of reduced burden of school bags, new age pedagogy, fun activities, light but tight exams, freedom to choose subjects, friendlier schooling environment. If the execution and implementation could be spot on, it would usher India's education system into a progressive and equitable one. And then our country will be en route to become a Vishwa Guru in truest sense. Now I am also having a video. Let's see, maybe it works. I think it should be. Or if not, please, Sunita ma'am or Pallavi ma'am, can you play this for me?
Should we start playing with the last video, the earlier one?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
If you can.
Stop the screen share, ma'am.
You have. It's visible, ma'am?
Yeah. Is it visible?
No, not yet.
Yes, the video.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Is it playing audible?
Appa,
yes.
ये चींटी खाना कैसे चबाती है?
I think it's a previous one. So it's you can play this, but this is for education for all. First you play this and then the last one. This was for the education for all.
Appa, ये चींटी खाना कैसे चबाती है?
सुबह सुबह शुरू।
अप्पा, ये आवाज दिखती क्यों नहीं?
दिखती है बेटा, कभी कभी दिखती है।
ये पहिया चलता कैसे है? माँ को आपकी तरह मूछें क्यों नहीं होती? अप्पा, दिन में तारे क्यों नहीं दिखते? अप्पा, अप्पा, बोलो ना।
आके बोलता हूँ पक्का। लो घर जा।
अप्पा, अप्पा, ये पेड़ की
इधर सुबह शाम सवाल पे सवाल। अरे इसमें इतनी जिज्ञासा है तो इसे स्कूल क्यों नहीं भेजते? गरीब आदमी है साहब, कहाँ से पढ़ाएगा? इसे सरकारी स्कूल भेजो ना। अब तो शिक्षा है हर बच्चे का अधिकार।
अप्पा, अब तो मेरा पढ़ना पक्का।
हाँ पक्का।
अप्पा, ये मिर्ची इतनी तीखी क्यों होती है?
कल स्कूल में मास्टर जी से पूछ लेना। सांभर चाहिए तो। शिक्षा है अब हर बच्चे का अधिकार।
Thank you, Pallavi ma'am. Video shows the curiosity and enthusiasm of child to learn, and so the importance of education for all. If you can play my summarized.
Give me a moment, ma'am. I'll just see.
Also, thank you.
Yeah, I think, ma'am, it's a great video for inquiry-based learning. Also, the child is concentrating on questions. Yes. Just give me a moment. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, ma'am.
The future of education can't be found in a gadget or an app or a program or a product. It doesn't require a think tank full of pundits. No, the future of education can be found in your classroom. Your classroom is packed with creative potential. You have all the innovation you need right there in your room. And you have the power to make it happen. It's what happens when you experiment. It's what happens when you give your students voice and choice. It's what happens when you abandon the scripted curriculum and take your students off-road in their learning. It's what happens when you teach to your students rather than teaching to the test. It's what happens when you unleash the creative power of all of your students, when you make the bold decision to let them make things and design things and solve problems that they find relevant. Sometimes it's messy and even confusing. It often looks humble. But understand this, that every time your students get the chance to be authors or filmmakers or scientists or artists or engineers, you are planting the seeds for a future that you could never have imagined on your own. That's the power of innovative teachers. That is why the future of education is you.
You can stop, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much. That's it with my presentation. This video also summarizes all the key points of school education, and as Pallavi ma'am already said, it's as a teacher, it's our responsibility to take education to the next level, and this video also summarized the same thing. So let's hope for a great future of education. And now for the higher education perspectives, I hand it over mic to Sunita ma'am. Sunita ma'am, please.
Thank you so much, Tarika ma'am. I hope my voice is comfortable to everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so dear participant, good morning. And I'm very thankful to Professor Kiran Gehani ma'am and IBMR IPS Academy for giving this an opportunity to interact with all worthy participants. I would like to start my presentation with a small quote. The quote has given by the Benjamin Disraeli. A university should be a place of light, of liberty, and of learning, quality education. We all have spent a good time in the university, and we know very well what is a standard and what is a need of good quality university. Now, I would like to start my session on higher education, which has been developed by the National Education Policy few criteria. The higher education has covered with the help of 11 points, which are based on quality university, restructuring, holistic and multidisciplinary approach, optimal learning, motivate, engage capable faculty, teachers education, equity, and many more. I'll discuss each and every point one by one. Before starting my first point, I would like to give some highlights which has been given by the employment newspaper. In a current scenario, the 30% of India's gross national income is contributed by youth. And Right now, we are facing the big problem of pandemic. And because of that, the unemployment ratio also has increased by near about 8.5% in rural and urban area also. So if the university, they'll improve lots of activities and they'll improve their structure. So maybe that unemployment ratio and can be reduced and the youth contribution can be increased. So let's discuss about and let's see about the quality university and colleges forwarding. The main purpose of the quality higher education is to provide the great opportunity of individual employment. For this, lots of universities are doing hard work, and even the government are doing lots of activities also. So higher education play an extreme important role in promoting human as well as societal well-being and developing India as envisioning as its constitute. If we talk about the how we can achieve that particular goal and that particular agenda, so for that particular purpose, we have to work lots of areas, including university with the help of socially engaged, cooperative communities as a happier, cohesive, culture, productive, innovation, progressive, and prosperous nation. If the higher education and we are going to cover that particular thing, definitely we will be able to work on the same. For this particular activity, the university are facing so many problems, and even the NEP has proposed some kind of suggestions also and the solutions also. So what kind of problem actually the NEP and the many more are facing about the same? The severely fragmented higher educational system, inadequate mechanism for merit-based career management. Let's emphasize on development of cognitive skill and learning outcome. And even this statement we also have observed many times. Lesser emphasis on research at most university and the colleges. And because of that, you maybe know that very less journals from the India are the part of ABDC and other category, especially in a management area. Early specialization and narrow area of study. Suboptimal governance and leadership of higher education institutes. Teach in local language, limited teachers and institutional autonomy. Teach in local language is not a bad, but if you talk about that a scholar is not able to understand the one very important language called the English and required language. So in that particular condition, this teach by local language can be the problematic for the student development. Ineffective regularity system and large affiliated universities resulting in lower standard of undergraduate education. If the undergraduate education will not improve as per the standard of the higher education, but obviously the unemployment ratio cannot be increased as per the requirement. And the majority of people who are not qualified or maybe who are facing the unemployment ratio, they are from, as per the status has been given by the lots of agencies and the website, they are some from the engineering backgrounds also. What kind of solutions has been given under the NEP for the same? Higher education system consists of large multidisciplinary university, multiple disciplinary, holistic approach, research, light but tight. These four and other also are the main agenda to improving by the NEP. Moving towards a more multidisciplinary undergraduate education, faculty and institutional autonomy. Revamping curricular pedagogy and assessment and student support. Some university and maybe institute, they do not have a right to improve their curriculum pedagogy, maybe which can be improved by this NEP also. Reaffirming the integrate of faculty and institutional leadership position through merit appointment and career progression based on teacher, research and service. We have an idea, the majority of government university, they are running with the help of contractual faculty and not full-time faculty and the other faculty. So maybe this particular point can improve appointment patterns also. Establishment of research, National Research Foundation of outstanding peer review research. From last few years, me and everyone have reviewed it that the India's research is not in the top research criteria. And maybe this research agency will provide that kind of improvement from the country. Governance of higher education institute by qualified independent board having academic and administrative autonomy, light but tight. Regulation by single regulator for higher education. Increase access equity, scholarship by private and philanthropic university. Those scholars who are financially disadvantaged and underprivileged, so the university and the private institute and the philanthropic university, they can provide them support, as in the earlier video has shown by the Pallab Mukherjee ma'am, which has been discussed by the Tarika ma'am, Shiksha Sabka Adhikar hai, and higher education bhi sabka adhikar hai. If the some student, they are not able because of they are not able to join the university because of money, so definitely that can provide. And open distance learning from last few years, this particular point is again very useful for the all people, either they are working and they are not working. Next part I would like to cover on the institutional restructuring and consolidation. Without restructuring and consolidation, the kind of objective and the goal NEP 2020 has cannot be completed. The main thrust of this policy is based on higher education is to end the fragmented of higher education by transforming higher education institute into larger multidisciplinary university, colleges, and higher education cluster hubs, each of which will aim to have 3,000 or more students. And with the help of multidisciplinary university, moving to large multidisciplinary higher education cluster is thus the highest recommendation of this policy regarding the structure of higher education. Now, when the university, they are going to restructure themselves, they have to apply lots of programs which should be based on multidisciplinary. The scholars, they should also learn lots of activity. They should complete their program via learning on the multidisciplinary. Faculty, they should also know about the multidisciplinary aspect where we can improve our shareholders at the scholars' knowledge. Learning, the university is going to focus mostly on the multidisciplinary university of higher education learning that offer undergraduate and graduate program with high quality teaching, research, and community engagement. Maybe it is my observation, and maybe you also have observed, it's my observation, the majority of universities and the higher education institute, they are focusing either on research or they are focusing on the teaching. But all universities and everyone, they are not focusing on the all kind of criteria. So with the help of this particular learning, maybe the standard of the student knowledge and learning can be increased. Equal emphasis, either the equal emphasis with the help of research intensive university, maybe the teaching can be improved in a very good form, because only teaching cannot increase the scholar level and only research cannot increase the scholar level. Research provide us, a kind of punch and the kind of innovation, because it give us idea to do so many research, so many innovative idea again and again. So when the university and the institute will provide the equal emphasis on the both sides, so maybe the scholars learning is going to increase. All higher education will firstly plan to become multidisciplinary. Maybe it can be the challenge, but it can be complete by 2030. Then gradually increase student strength at the desired level. The overall higher education sector will aim to be integrated higher education system, including professional and vocational education. Vocational education is running, but still that is not in a very famous and very favorable for the scholar side, as they understand. But with the help of that particular policy and pushing by the university, maybe that can be very benefited for the all people. This policy and its approach will be equally applicable to all higher education institutes across all current streams, which would eventually merge into one coherent ecosystem of higher education. University worldwide mean multidisciplinary institute of higher learning that offers undergraduate, graduate, PhD program in engage in high quality teaching and research. The present complex nomenclature of higher education institute in the country, such as deemed university, affiliated university, and other areas, shall be replaced simply by university on fulfilling the criteria as per the norm. Now, this particular point is the most important point of the NEP, either for scholars of the higher education, school, and other areas. And with the help of holistic and multidisciplinary discipline education, it can improve a lot. Till date, the major focus by the holistic approach is going to apply on the school education, less applicable and the less emphasized in the college education. So let's see the what kind of changes the NEP has proposed for that particular approach. As per a holistic approach and as per the NEP, their conversation and their discussion based on the policy, they are saying that the all pattern university should focus on the either the student are from the science background or the arts background. They should know at least other area also. So how it can be happen? The holistic education shall be in the long-term approach of all undergraduate program, including professional, technical, and vocational discipline. A holistic and multidisciplinary education is described so beautifully in a past. With the help of, I can say that in a Gurukula system, what was happening? The scholar, they have to learn all activities. They have to perform all kind of activities. And that's why they were multi-skilled people. But right now, the majority of university, and sometimes we are focusing on the specialization area or single specialization area. And that's why right now the corporate demand is that, the university and the especially corporate demand is that the student should be able to use the multiple skill to achieve their targets, and then they are going to recruit them. And that is one of the reason to increase the unemployment ratio. The scholars, they have only knowledge about their own subject. They do not have a knowledge about the other domain, which is a requirement of current corporate. So engineering student institute such as IIT will move towards holistic and multidisciplinary education with more arts and humanity. And humanities student and art student, they'll get a chance to learn about the science, which can be useful for their incorporate idea and the vocational subjects also. Graduate, master's, and doctoral education in the large multidisciplinary university while providing rigorous research-based specialization, not only in a teaching, not only in a study, even in a research-based that multidisciplinary function should be applicable, which will provide the opportunity to work in academia, government, as well as industry also. Then the majority of students who are from arts. Normally people think about them, they are taking science because they have a fear, but no, they don't have a fear, maybe they have taken by the choice. But now, as per the NEP 2020, the students who are from arts and humanity, they'll also get a chance to learn about the other subjects related to the science and others. Imaginative and flexible curricular structure will be enabled creative combination of discipline for the study and creating new possible of lifelong learning. The pedagogy will have increased emphasis on the communication. If we talk about the holistic approach, so in a school, we are teaching them how to behave socially, how to work there, how to improve communication, lots of things we are going to teach them. And the same thing we should also improve here with the help of debates, research, and multiple kind of areas, which can improve the interdisciplinary thinking of the scholar. And when the scholar, they will be able to develop their interdisciplinary thinking, definitely they can work very well and they can perform good for their jobs and other criteria. All departments of languages, literature, music, philosophy, and many more, they have a need to work with a multidisciplinary simulating Indian education environment will establish standard in all higher education institute. If we see, so there are the very less department in all university which are related to the music, philosophy, ideology, and other. But now this department also has been improved and emphasized by the NEP. Faculty and research at their own and other higher education research institute, so that a student may actively engage with practical side or other learning. There are the few subjects where the research is not the part of them, but by NEP, maybe that particular part can be improved, because without research, maybe the scholar will not be able to search new areas and maybe work in a new areas, and with the help, it can be supported. Finally, as a part of holistic education, the student at all higher education institute will provide opportunity to internship with local industry, business, artists, as well as research internship. Because some programs, especially in an undergraduate, they are not focusing on the industry interaction and the internships also. And maybe that's why after the completing undergraduate, when the scholar, they are going to face a job interview, they are not able to. Because right now, the majority of corporate house, they are picking those scholars who have a good knowledge and at least they have an idea about the industry. The undergraduate degree, the higher education will focus on research and innovation by setting up a startup incubation centers, technology development centers, centers in frontier area of research, greater industry academic linkage and interdisciplinary research, including humanity and social science research. Majority of university and the institute, they have an incubation center, but what kind of outcome they are getting, that is not very, very predictive. And that can also one of the reason the less startups, some startups are coming from the good university, but all startups are not coming from the university. So maybe that can be also improved. The undergraduate degree will be either 3 or 4 year duration with multiple exit option with a period with appropriate certificate. And after completing 1 year in a discipline of field, including vocational and professional area, or diploma after 2 years of bachelor study, and many more. The 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor program, however, shall be preferred option since it to allow the opportunity to the experience with full range of holistic and multidisciplinary education. Before NEP policy, and right now it is not implemented, but it is planning by the government when they can implement it. As per the news we have received, maybe in a 21 and in a 2022, this policy can be implemented. So how they are saying that, like the 4-year program should also involve the holistic approach via research orientations also. Higher education institute will have a flexibility to offer different design of master program. They may be 2-year program with second year devoted entirely to research for those who have a completed 3-year bachelor program. The majority of institute and the program and the university, they are focusing research only on 6 months, either with the help of major research project or some kind of industry interaction research oriented based program. So in this particular year and this particular program, the research orientation is going to shift from 6 months to 1 year. For the student completed a 4-year bachelor program with research, they could be 1 year master program, and there may be integrated 5-year bachelor and master program. And undertaking a PhD shall be required either a master degree or a 4-year bachelor with research. If some scholar they are going to complete their 4-year graduate along with the research, they can be take also the part of PhD, which was not in a current scenario. NRF, which can be useful as a most important function, is going to help enable and support such as vibrant research and innovative culture across higher education institute, research lab, and other research organizations. Now, the next part is based on optimal learning environment and support for students. If we will not improve and the university will not improve the optimal learning environment, so definitely the student support will not be that much which should be. So effective learning is very important for the student learning and enhance their knowledge and improve their thinking and the innovation. And this can happen and this can complete by engaging pedagogy, continuous formative assessment, and adequate student support. And why promote creativity, institute and the faculty will have improved their autonomy to innovate on matters like its curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment. And these both combination will improve the student performance. Now, the institute have to be committed for the holistic development where the student can develop their academic and social domain from inside and outside both. And this can happen with the help of good academic interaction in the classroom and outside the classrooms also. Students who are socially economically disadvantaged, so that is the duty and that can be the requirement by the university. They have to support them to at least take the good education and other things also. Online distance learning and online education provide a natural path to increase access higher education. Those scholars who are not able to attend off classes and other things also. So with the help of mobile phone, they can join the online learning and they can improve their higher education systems also. India would like to work as a Vishwa Guru in a global parameter. For this, the higher education, they have to improve and they have to provide the premium education at affordable cost to the all scholars. Then India will be able to work on the Vishwa Guru. Research, teaching collaboration, and faculty student exchange with a high quality foreign institute will be facilitated. And for this, relevant mutually beneficial MOU with foreign countries will be signed. Still, some universities and some institutes, they are working and they are sending their scholars for the higher education for some different kind of university, but not all. Maybe that can be increased and improved. High performance Indian institute will be encouraged to set up campus in another country, and especially with a top 100 university, and the top 100 university from the world, they will be facilitated to operate in India. We know very well the students are our prime stakeholder in an education system. For this, campus life is essential to improve quality teaching learning process. In every education system and every education institute, there should be counseling session systems also, because when the scholars, they are coming either from a small city and the big city, they are entering in a new environment. So it's a very tough to them to adjust here. Some students, they are not able to cope up and they are going in they are going in a stress also, and maybe because of that their performance are not improving, and due to the performance are not improving, maybe they are not able to crack the jobs interviews also because of the less marks. So with the help of handling stress and emotional adjustment by the counseling, it can be improved. The National Scholarship Portal will be expanded to support and foster and track the progress of a student receiving scholarship. And for this, private institute and the higher education institute will also encourage. Next part, now this part I have discussed about the scholars, university, education improvement by the holistic and the interdisciplinary approach. Upcoming part is focused on the faculty, because the scholars are stakeholders, the faculty are the facilitator. If the faculty will not happy, will not be energized, and the zeal, so definitely the student development cannot happen. So the most important factor in the success of higher education institute is the quality and engagement of faculty. Each and every faculty, they are giving their all involvement, their hard work, their smart work and everything. Then the higher education institute are able to achieve their success. Various initiatives have also been taken towards providing faculty with professional development opportunity. And one part I can say as a FDP and short-term training program, they are also doing. The various factors that lie behind low faculty motivation level must be addressed to ensure that each faculty member is happy, engaged, and motivated towards advancing his or her education institute professionalism. All higher education institute will be equipped with basic infrastructure, water, blackboard, and many more. Every classroom, as per the current requirement, shall have access to the latest educational technology that enable better learning experience. So sorry. I'm so sorry for interrupt. Teaching duties also will not be excessive, and the student teacher ratio not too high, so that the activity of teaching remain pleasant and it will be oriented research and other activities also. Faculty will be given the freedom to design their own curriculum, because faculty interact with the scholar and they know very well that that syllabus is not very competent according to the corporate requirement, and then they will be able to improve the pedagogical approach within the appropriate framework, including textbook and other study material. Higher Education Institute will have clearly defined independent and transparent process and criteria for faculty development that should also focus on the recognized as a higher impact research. Institutional development plan should also design to increase the success of a scholar, faculty, and higher education institute. Institutional leader will aim to create a culture of excellence that will motivate and improve the teaching innovation. Now, the next part is based on equity and inclusion in higher education. The initiative taken by government involving the policy envision ensuring the equitable access to quality education to all students, within a special emphasis on socio-economically disadvantaged groups. So what kind of initiative has taken by the government? Earmark suitable government fund for the education of SEDGs. Set clear target for GER for SDG. GER is gross enrollment ratio. Enhance gender balance in admission of higher education. Till date, so many people and so many researchers, we are talking about the gender equality. And this time the NEP also, they are giving the emphasis the gender balance should be in an admission part also. Enhance, assess by establish more quality research and more quality education by higher education in aspirational districts and special student zone and the education zone also. Develop high support quality with higher education that teach in local and Indian language or the other language combination. Teaching by local language is not a bad, but meanwhile, the scholar should be able to know the other language also, because if he is going to face the other language out of his state or out of his district, so only local language maybe will not provide them that kind of opportunity. Provide more financial assistance to improve the education and increase the education by the private and public higher education institute. Conduct outreach program on higher education opportunity and scholarship among SEDGs. Develop and support technology tool for better participation and learning outcome. Those scholars, they cannot go outside their district area, outside their house, outside their city, outside their country, outside their state due to the financial issues. So at least with the help of some free education and some development by the technology, the student can improve their learning. Steps to be taken by all higher education institutes. Some steps are common for the government and the higher education. I'll discuss those areas, those points which is only for the higher education. Like admission process should be more inclusive. Make curriculum more inclusive. Increase employability potential of higher education program, because if the employability will not improve and the increase, so the main objective of the institute and the university and the program is not going to fulfill. Develop more degree course taught in Indian language and even the mixed kind of languages also. Ensure all building and facilities are wheelchair accessible and disabled friendly. Develop bridge course for students that come from disadvantaged educational background. We must observe some scholars, they do not speak in a class because they feel that we are from a small city, we don't know the English, we don't know the proper English and other. So that we should, so for this, we should develop a bridge course where that kind of agitation can remove from the student side. Provide socio-emotional and academic support and mentoring for all such students with the help of counseling and other activities. Also, with the help of open activity, sports activity, short kind of competition kind of activity, and increase the motivation level, there they can improve themselves also. Ensure faculty, counselor, and a student on gender identity issue, and it should be resolved as soon as, because majority of city and the parents, they are not sending their girls for the higher education. They feel that this is a boys college, this is the co-ed college, we are not open to send here. If that kind of problem can be solved by, and why they are doing that, because of getting some kind of bad news about the student from the girls and boys fight and other issues also. If that kind of problem is going to handle by the institute, so these kind of challenges will not come across them. Strictly enforce no discrimination and anti-harassment rule. Develop institutional development plan that contains specification and specialization on the increased participation from the SEDG, including but not limited to the all kind of areas. The next part is based on the teacher education. For this, I have a small quotation. Why should society feel responsible only for the education of child, not for education of the all adult to every age? And if we want to work on the same, so each and every person should be educated, including teachers also. Yeah, all teachers are educated, but again, they require to improve with our current scenario and current changes also. So what kind of policy has given by the NEP? Teachers preparation is an activity that required multidisciplinary perspective and knowledge formation of disposition and value, development of practice under the best mentor. Only the teaching activity, not essential for you. We have to improve lots of areas, research, mentorship, and many more. For this, multidisciplinary perspective and knowledge is very important. Teachers must be grounded in Indian languages and values, ethos, and tradition, because without it, we cannot improve our education and pedagogy. By 2030, only educationally sound, multidisciplinary, and integrated teachers' education program shall be in force. As the teacher education required multidisciplinary input, high quality content, as well as pedagogy. By 2030, 4-year integrated B.Ed will be minimal degree of qualification for school teachers. Right now, that is 2 years. Higher Education Institute offering teachers education program will ensure the availability of range of experts in education and in other specialized area. All fresh PhD entrants people, they have to work on credit-based course in teaching, education, and writing related to their chosen PhD area. The PhD scholars, they also have to be worked in teaching experience via teaching assistants and other activities also. In service, continuous professional development of college and university, teacher will continue through our existing institute arrangement and ongoing initiatives. The use of technology platform such as Swayam, Diksha, and other MOOC programs can improve the teachers' training will be encouraged so that the standard training can be administered to large number of teachers within a short span of time. A national mission of mentoring shall be established with a large pool of outstanding, senior, and retired faculty, including those with the ability to teach in an Indian language, who will be provide short-term and long-term mentoring professional support to university and college teachers. Now, the next part is based on reimagining vocational education. In this particular NAP, one of the good emphasis is going to given on the vocational education programs. For this, important bodies for vocational education MHRD, National Committee for the Integration of Vocational Education and National Skill Qualification Framework are working under the MHRD. The policy aim to overcome the social status hierarchy associated with a vocational education, beginning with vocational exposure at the early age in a middle secondary school. Quality vocational education will be integrated smoothly in a higher education. In this form, the involvement and the student learning can increase and their output can be improved. By 2025, at least 50% of learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to the vocational education. The number of students in vocational education will be considered while arriving at GER targets. The focus area of vocational education should be focused on skill gap analysis and mapping of local opportunities. Next, quality academic research. Quality academic research in all fields through our National Research Foundation. The high quality interdisciplinary research should also focus in all over universities, and with the help of National Research Foundation, it can be improved and enriched also. The research and innovation at Education Institute in India, particularly those are engaged in higher education, it is critical and they should be also improved in other parts also. The policy envisions the establishment of National Research Foundation, which will support competitively fund research in all disciplines, excluding medical and legal. And with the help of that particular support, I feel that most of the university, faculty, students will be able to improve their research work and they can take good advantages also. Second last, transformation, the regularity system of higher education. For this, the Higher Education Commission India has taken the 4 vertical, and what kind of vertical they has taken, let's discuss. It will be function now, the Higher Education Commission India will be National Higher Education Regularity Council, and this will function common single point regularity for the higher education sector, including teachers education and excluding medical and legal. Second vertical is focused on the meta accreditation body along with a NAC. Third vertical is based on Higher Education Ground Council, which will carry out funding and finance of higher education based on transparent criteria, including institutional development plan and other activities. The fourth vertical, Higher Education Commission India, will be General Education Council, which will frame expected learning outcome for higher education program, also referred to the graduate attributes. Last but not the least, in the higher education criteria, effective governance and leadership for higher education institute. Through a suitable and NAC and other activity and graded autonomy in phased manner over a 15-year, the all higher education institute in India will become independently self-governance institute pursuing innovation and excellence. With the help of these particular funda, the board of governance shall be established, constitute of group of highly qualified, competent individual, have proven capability, strong sense of commitment to the institute. Now, the all BOGs shall be responsible and accountable to the stakeholders, our student, through transparent self-disclosure of all relevant records. Now, with the help of 4 main learning outcome, which is based on holistic approach, multidisciplinary, improve the education of a scholar, focus on employability, focus on job orientation, focus on vocational learning, these 11 parameters can be accomplished. Other key areas which should be focused by us and the university: professional education. Without professional education, the scholar improvement can be quite less. Adult education and lifelong learning. Faculty, they teach student, and whatever they are teaching, whatever they learn from the faculty, they keep as a lifelong learning also, and they should also keep. Promotion of Indian languages, art, and culture. In a professional education, somewhere, somewhat, we are not able to highlight these parameters, which should be highlighted. Use of technology, especially now we can see that in a pandemic scenario, the use of technology is the only platform where we are able to provide education to the student, and it should also used by many people. And when it can be accomplished, when the teachers, they are giving emphasis to the student. Online and digital education. With the help of online and digital education, so many unemployed scholars, they can learn so many areas, and they can improve their opportunity, and they can go in a good jobs also. Technology use and integration. So many people till date, I'm getting the news, some schools and the colleges are not working because they are not integrating themselves by technology use and integration. They should do to improve the student life and the societal status also. Create a dedicated unit of building of world-class digital infrastructure, educational digital content and capacity. I would like to end my presentation with this small video, which is based, and the knowledge and the idea has been given by the APJ Abdul Kalam. Thank you so much, dear participant. We are open, me, Pallavi ma'am, Tarika ma'am, for your question answer.
Thank you so much, Sunita ma'am, Tarika ma'am, and Pallavi ma'am for this wonderful presentation on NEP 2020. I would request if any of the participants have any queries, you can unmute yourself and feel free to speak. So I think everything is very clear with the presentation, and hopefully NEP has a lot more to explore, and we all as an academician must go through this particular NEP document to gain more insights into this concept and the implementation part. There were a few questions initially in the chat window, but I think once the presentation got finished, everything got cleared up. So there are no more questions as such.
We
So,
also answered the questions in the chat, Kiran. The ones
yes,
that
yes, yes. So, thank you so much, Pallavi ma'am, Tarika ma'am, and Sunita ma'am for enlightening us with NEP 2020. And from all the participants, I thank you. And as they have the assessment test and the break is very little, I would like to end this meeting here only. Participants, it's a humble request that please join again at 12 with the same meeting link for the next 2 sessions, and those 2 sessions are mentally relieving sessions wherein you would enjoy and are based on experiential learning. The first would be on the power of breathing and yoga, and the second session would be talking about the stress relieving techniques in an individual's life, which are very much needed in this pandemic time. So I request you all to join again with the same meeting link at 12. And thank you all the participants and the fellow faculty members for being a part of this FDP. Thank you, everyone.
so much, Kiran ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you
Kiran
so much,
ma'am. Thank
Kiran
you
ma'am.
all the participants.